Good afternoon, everybody. It's Tuesday, March 11th, 2025, and I have all of the stories for your rush hour ride home. On today's episode, we've got a big issue with Southwest as they are now saying that the free checked bags are going away. People are in uproar. I'll share that. Plus, the Women Tell All was last night. Bachelor Grant had a lot of ladies to speak to and held him accountable. I'll share what Carolina had to say. And speaking of the Bachelor Nation crowd, Bachelorette Gabby Windey found herself on Jimmy Fallon's Tonight Show after she won Traitors. I'll share what she had to say about that. And then a Juicy Scoop shout out. That's right. Heather McDonald's hit podcast Juicy Scoop. We were featured on. That's a big win for all of us here in the Rush Hour community. I'll share the clip and also what they are saying in response to the foul take by Nick Viall on his Team Blake Lively press tour. Also, tariff talk. It's not looking good as the U.S. ups the steel tariff to 50% from Canada. Their response, they are going to be shutting down electricity, possibly. And also, Bill Burr goes on a rant about Elon Musk. You got to love it. Lots of wild stories, and it's only Tuesday. All this and more happening right now on The Rush. Well, it's a dark day for airline travel as the only good airline, Southwest Airlines, that had free bags are saying no longer. And here is the breaking news update.
Has learned of a big shift from Southwest Airlines starting May 28th. The company will start charging for some checked bags. Oh no, that's the first time in nearly 54-year history this has happened.
Bags Fly Free has been at the heart of Southwest Airlines. But just in time for summer, many checked bags will soon fly with a fee. Only Southwest's most elite A-list preferred flyers and those booking its priciest business select fares will get 2 free checked bags.
All right, so this is so annoying for so many reasons. Just bake it into the cost. Here's what I hate about airline traveling is that every airline is competing to get the cheapest flight, but then all the add-ons are added afterwards. So you need a science degree or you have to be an economist to really know what the price is going to be, right? When I search for an airline, I immediately click off Spirit Air. I'll never fly with them again. I don't care if it's the only flight that gets me, wherever I need to go. Not going to happen. No, I'll walk. No, thank you. I'll take a scooter before I fly Spirit Airlines. But Southwest, they had it going on. You checked your bag. Then you didn't have to worry about schlepping all your stuff down the aisle. What they are doing to airlines is absolutely ridiculous. Shrinking seat sizes and disappearing legroom impacting airline experience for Americans. They've slowly changed how long and wide the seats are, going from 35 inches to 28 inches over the last several years, and also changing the pitch of the seats. It's absolutely ridiculous. Here's my thought. Listen, we need like an airline czar, somebody to say, here's the bare minimum of what people can expect when they're traveling. Put your prices based on that. And here's what you need. 1 free checked bag, 1 free carry-on, and then a small little lap thing or whatever. And also, none of the BS fees, none of them. Bake that into the cost. You can expect if you're going to work somewhere that there's a basic minimum wage, and that's because we've said, you know what? Working under this wage is intolerable to our human rights. And I feel the same way about traveling. You should not be allowed to even offer a flight that doesn't, give you the right size. And you might say, well, this is going to raise the prices. Fine. You shouldn't be in business if you can't afford these basic things, and stop nickel and diming everybody you got to go through the airports already. It's like going through a mall. There's perfume stores you got to walk through. You got to get your eyeballs scanned and be clear check and pre this. And then, even on the flights, they start asking you if you want the credit card as you're sleeping. It's like, I just want some peanuts and a Diet Coke and my life savings not to go to sit in economy. Anyhow, what we're noticing though is due to the economy taking a sideways, or should I say drastic free fall, Delta issues a warning on the economy, and they say they are slashing their forecast in half. This is not good. Indicators of recessions are when people are pulling back on travel, pulling back on vacations, and any sort of spending that's not essential. So that's the world we live in. And let me tell you something, as far as Southwest is concerned, they're about to realize how loyal people are. People are going to be jumping ship. As far as I know, the best airline out there right now is JetBlue. JetBlue, I like Delta too. They're not the cheapest, but they're great. But JetBlue, Delta, you can't even fly Southwest anymore. What are we supposed to do? Somebody help me out. All right, well, let's go to Gabby Windey. She won Traitors. and now she's on Jimmy Fallon. Here's what she had to say.
You said that if you won that you were going to get married, and you went and got married.
I did.
Congratulations! Here you are.
My wife.
There you go, right there. You got married.
Yes.
You got married in Vegas.
In Vegas. Cannot recommend enough.
Wait, really?
$7.99 for the deluxe package. A limo. Reverend Nature. Big Nate took all the photos. They're gorgeous.
Reverend Nature.
Yes, Reverend Nature.
Fantastic.
Not interested, but would recommend 10 out of 10.
I don't know what that means, not interested, but would also recommend. Either way, look, God bless Gabby. I'm happy she's happy. It's not for me. You know what I mean? It's not, I don't get it. I don't get the whole thing, the voice and all of that, but she's funny. And she won Trader, so good for her. Again, nothing against her. I don't understand. All right. I'm going to share with you what was said on Heather McDonald's podcast, Juicy Scoop. We were mentioned, which is great, but she also had Zach Peter on, and they discussed sort of their pushback from Nick Viall. Let's do this. I'm going to play the clip of Nick right here, sharing his thoughts on, why he believes Blake Lively, and then I'm going to share Zach Peters' response. Have a listen.
And so I also think it's crazy to think so in all these narratives about most of the conversations is about the sexual harassment. No one's really talking about the smear campaign. And to me, I think what most people should be freaked out about is that part of Blake's complaint, because the smear campaign of I think it's scary. If Blake's side is right, if my opinion is right, I think people should be terrified what Justin and his team have been able to accomplish. This guy seems to be, has unlimited funding, right? Has a following himself, has been able to take down and change the narrative of some of the most likable, formerly, A-list celebrities in the world, because he has a very dedicated, very sophisticated team who's been able to drive these narratives and bring up every awkward interview that Blake's ever given or every bitchy moment she's might have said or things like that. And I think we love a takedown. America loves a takedown and they love a comeback. You know what I'm saying? And so I think right now, Justin is benefiting from the fact that most people don't even know who he is.
Now, he says several true things in there, but several completely batshit things. Yeah, it's true. America loves a takedown. We love to build a nice little sandcastle and then stomp on it. And I think that speaks to society where, people want to support somebody, but then if they get too big, they want to pull them back down to their level. I don't see that being the case here. And we've also done a lot of homework to look into all the people that are sharing the anti-Blake Lively stuff, and a lot of it's organic. So the idea that it's scary that you could run an astroturfing campaign against someone else, sure, that is scary. But when looked into, so far we haven't seen any receipts that campaign was, anything that was, to smear Blake. It was really just in ways to defend Justin. I sound like a homer kind of explaining it that way, but that's what it is. And he can't really grasp that. He just sees this as if they did it to Blake, they'll do it to me. First of all, Nick, what you need to realize is you don't need bots to shit on you. There's enough people that'll do it for free. But secondly, it's not the story. The story is the sexual harassment. That's the crime. AstroTurfing, I'm fully against. Elevating stories synthetically, I'm fully against. But that's existed in one way or another with PR from the beginning of time. All right. Coming up next, I'm going to share Heather McDonald and Zach Peter, what they had to say regarding all of the hate that Nick got when he was on Juicy Scoop last week. Okay, so here is Zach Peter. I'm going to share his response to this kind of framing by Nick Viall about what this story is actually about. And I want to thank you guys for getting me in touch with Heather McDonald. We have been chatting, so thank you so much for elevating our name and what we do over here on the Rush Hour podcast into the big leagues of Bravo star Heather McDonald. More to come on that. But here's what Zach had to say.
Nick, I would love to have a conversation with Nick. I know he would never have a conversation with me about this. I would even do it here on Juicy Scoop for you, Heather. Neutral territory. You could be the Andy Cohen.
And by the way, that would be amazing, but Nick will never do it. He knows that in rigorous debate, he doesn't come off well. He already bombed with Reality Steve when he tried to expose him. He doesn't have a popular take on this. Nick knows he's on the losing side to the point in which he won't even lead with this story in any of his content. His channel is about entertainment news, and he will not discuss the biggest news story out there because he's on the wrong side of it. And he'd rather not discuss it than have to keep on tripling down.
I didn't really notice until Dave Neal, who analyzed it, was saying how, because I left. I like Nick as a person.
Yeah.
So I left,
Nice dude,
and I
yeah.
liked that we were on opposite sides, and I didn't find him some people felt he was they felt he was being disrespectful to me or trying to manipulate my opinion, or he's like, what?
He was very flippant. He was very, I guess you could say glib and say, well, what evidence? What are you talking about? But really, that's what we do best on our channel, I think, is when Nick says, I don't understand why they were so angry. It's like, well, then we played all the clips of how real boneheaded they were in, Nick and his wife just shooting down other people and not really listening to the conversation.
What's the evidence? What's
Yeah.
the evidence? And I kept giving him evidence just
Yeah.
off the top of my head, not like I'm a lawyer.
Yeah.
But it still didn't bother me. I still thought it was done with respect, and I
Yeah.
still thought it was interesting. But I mean, the amount of comments I got on YouTube,
Yeah.
I have to say, made me wonder slightly. Though I pretty much have the same amount of people watching every episode, so I believe
Yeah.
they're real juicy scoopers. I'm not saying they're bots. But if I was to think that, I would go, wow, maybe
The smear campaign.
Maybe Justin's people really are, because the only other time I got a lot was when I had Coco Moco on
Yeah.
about 2 months ago, and
Right.
at that time she was, I don't know where she is now with it, but at that time she was still very Team Blake.
Yeah.
And those are the only times I've gotten and not towards me, not mean towards me,
Right.
which makes me think I do believe they are my real listeners and
Scoopers, yeah.
watchers that were not happy with what was feeling like.
Yeah.
They don't agree with his opinion, which they have every right to comment. But that is sort of interesting. I was
The thing with Nick is and I'm sure he's a nice dude personally. I've never met him. But I just think he's so pompous and arrogant when he throws down his statements. And it's like, well, if you want the evidence, and where's your evidence to support anything? I get it. You like Ryan Reynolds.
But
great.
his evidence,
Suck his dick.
his evidence was too that he got a bad vibe.
That's my point.
So that's
he's
not,
like,
that's
he's
not
like,
hard.
oh,
There it is. Yeah. I mean, and by the way, I think comics are really good. That's why a lot of lawyers become comedians, because they're good at prosecuting their point. Heather McDonald prosecutes her point. She goes, he wants evidence. He wants evidence. Nick's only evidence is, I got a bad vibe. I got the ick. Your Honor, I'd like to enter this new evidence into the court on behalf of Blake Lively's side. We'd like to accuse Justin Baldoni of giving us the ick. And as you can tell, when you combine ick with toxic positivity, it's bad vibes. It's bad vibes. So good on Heather McDonald for, look, and I get it. I don't mind the podcasting where you kind of go at each other and present, and Nick's questioning her and what's your evidence. I don't mind all of that, but Zach does a good job of hitting the nail on the head with the tone. It's that Nick's personality just comes off better than, and he says, well, I'm sure he's a good guy in person. I'm sure he is too, if you can offer him something. But how are people and how they act when there's no transaction on the line? That's how I like to judge people. So either way, fascinating stuff. Maybe we'll make our way over to the Juicy Scoop studio one of these days, and we can share our opinions on it. I like it. It looks like, don't you love this set they're in? It looks like they're in an ice tray. Doesn't it look like they're just they Honey, I Shrunk the Kid, but they're in an ice tray? Just make a Juicy Scoop. They're scooping out the ice, right? They need iced tea for the summertime. So interesting stuff. And by the way, this idea where people can't change their opinion is really interesting to me, because I'm ready and willing to change my opinion if any new information comes out that supports Blake Lively, and if I think it's credible and all of that. I just haven't seen it yet. We need to save space for that. And to be quite honest, I think our channel, we reward changing of opinions. It's not flip-flopping. It's not being hypocritical. It's going, you know what? I thought about it and I'm on a different side the more I think about it. And that's a healthy when we get new information. When we change our opinions because it benefits us, because we don't have an ad sponsor, or if there's other reasons, then that's grifty. But if you're changing your opinion because you've received new information, I embrace that. And that's the issue we have with politics as we shift into it, is there's a lot of people doubling down on their opinions. One wild thing that's going on right now is the trade war we're watching play out with one of our closest allies. Trump tweeted this: based on Ontario, Canada, placing a 25% tariff on electricity coming into the U.S. I have instructed my Secretary of Commerce to add an additional 25% tariff to 50% tariff on all steel and aluminum coming into the United States. I have family that work in construction, some MAGA family, and I wonder how they're going to be affected when they find out that some of the goods they're buying are going to go up 50%. He says, I will be declaring a national emergency on electricity within the threatened area. This will allow the U.S. to quickly do what has to be done to alleviate the abusive threat from Canada. If other egregious long-time tariffs are not likewise dropped by Canada, I will substantially increase on April 2nd the tariffs on cars coming into the U.S. Folks, we've got a stock market in decline, and here we have the president getting upset. Hey, Canada punched me. We punched them first. We started this. And I say we collectively as the United States, but it is our leadership that started this. Here's Doug Ford talking about the high tariffs he's placing because and all of Canada is not willing to play ball.
We power 1.5 million homes and businesses in New York and Michigan and in Minnesota. I just got off the phone with Governor Whitmer. I consider her a friend. We've worked together for 7 years. She's a wonderful person, and I apologize to her. She understands. But what I recommend is on the electricity bill, put down this increase is a tariff from Trump. It's a Trump tariff, which is basically a Trump tax.
And here's what's interesting. He says he loves working with Governor Whitmer. Now, Gretchen Whitmer, governor of Michigan, I believe could be our future president of the United States. She's really, really good on camera. She speaks to the middle class. She's in that blue wall area, part of the country. I really like her. I like her policies. And I think she understands, look, what do you want me to do? This is going to hurt her people, but that's how it works. The Canadians are being hurt by Trump's policies. They're moving liquor on the shelf, off the shelf every day. There's a tariff or there's not one. It's like when you argue with your parent and they're like, all right, you're in timeout for 2 days. And you're like, oh, come on. And they're like, all right, it's 3 days. Well, what is it? 5 days. All right, just put me in timeout till I'm graduate. And then, don't be surprised when I never come home for Thanksgiving. And I've got a Saturday Night Live update that ties in what's going on here in our country and also in Canada. Something big happened on Saturday Night Live last week, the Elbows Up movement, which we're going to get to in a second. But first, have a listen to Stephen Miller complain about Saturday Night Live.
Saturday Night Live has not been culturally relevant in 20 years. Saturday Night Live has not produced a meaningful talent since the 1990s. Saturday Night Live has been a place where comedy goes to die.
Now, I don't think that's true. It's not a place where comedy goes to die. There's just so many more mediums to attract talented comedians. But the idea that Saturday Night Live is no longer relevant is very interesting because what happened on Saturday Night Live with Mike Myers, one of the more successful Canadian comedians of all time. You may remember him from Dr. Evil and a lot of other things. Here he is, former Saturday Night Live cast member, playing Elon Musk. And at the end of the episode, he makes an elbows up sort of salute to Canadians. Let's explain what this means.
What started as a simple gesture from Canadian actor Mike Myers turned into a national phenomenon.
We're a country that will be diplomatic when we can, but fight when we must, elbows up.
Hundreds attended an Elbows Up rally at the nation's capital yesterday in response to U.S. President Donald Trump's tariffs and annexation threats. The slogan gaining momentum right across the country, including here in the Maritimes.
We believe that Elbows Up meant for us that we can defend all of these good things that really make Canada the best country in the world.
Words from the owner of a Nova Scotia-based chocolate store now selling Elbows Up candy bars. In no time, it's become their top-performing product.
Now, Elbows Up is used right now to encourage people to stand up against the United States and really just the tariffs. We love our Canadian friends, and I know they love us. It's really just the tariff issue. The phrase originates from hockey legend Gordie Howe, known for his toughness and use of elbows on the ice. So, you've heard the phrase like cowboy up, elbows up. This is the Canadian version. And look, they're not going to go down without a fight. And this is what you have to learn. This is what I think the Russians have learned about Ukraine is when you invade another country, they have everything to fight for. They're willing to put everything on the line to stand up for their people. Now, we aren't invading Canada physically, but this is a war of tariffs. This is a war on the dollar and on the pocketbook. And people are taking personal offense to that in ways I don't think Trump or anyone could have imagined. And as independent thinkers that we are, I'm proud of my Canadian friends for sticking up when they see something that's wrong. Now, we're on the receiving end of it as taxpayers here in the United States. But hey, this is it, right? If our government tried to put these tariffs on another country, it's to squeeze them financially. Well, we're being squeezed in the process. So it's like it's kind of like very cancerous of us to try to attack them, knowing that we are so intertwined that it's actually hurting us at the same time. So anyway, that's the response to the tariffs. Do you remember the book, He's Just Not That Into You? Well, I kind of feel like Canada's just not that into becoming the 51st state. Here's Mark Carney, named Canada's next prime minister, vowing Canada will never be part of the U.S.
The Americans want our resources, our water, our land, our country. Think about it. If they succeeded, they would destroy our way of life. In America, healthcare is a big business. In Canada, it is a right. Canada never, ever will be part of America in any way, shape, or form.
Why does that sound like a Taylor Swift song? Like, they'll never, ever, ever be part of America. Can someone write that? Either way, look, there's a colossal social movement happening. I actually had a MAGA friend of mine just text me today saying, hey, you know what? I'm all about universal healthcare at this point. I am. Like, why do we let all of these big businesses and insurance companies make all this money and all the rich billionaires? How is this helping Americans? Bill Burr is getting in on it. He's never shied away from covering sort of the toxicity that exists around what drives our country. As one of the greatest comedians to ever exist, he's really good at articulating the pain point and how simple the actual beef really is. He is going hard on Elon Musk. Here's what he had to say.
Where my comedy act is right now is I'm trying to get regular people to stop yelling at each other and realize that it's a select few group of nerds, okay, eating raw almonds and doing their stupid workouts and everything and just competing with each other to have the biggest infinity pool, and the rest of us are getting pushed down. And they've politicized the whole stupid thing, and we're falling for it.
And who's the they? Besides people who eat almonds?
That idiot Elon Musk.
Oh.
That guy, like, he's going to, like, who evidently is a Nazi. Like, I just refuse to believe that it was an accidental 2-time Sieg Heil. And he does it at a presidential inauguration. This is why I hate liberals. It's like liberals have no teeth.
All right, so then he gets mad that the liberal politicians, he later clarifies, haven't really been fighting publicly against all of this. And I think what it comes down to is a lot of politicians don't have their own, they need their own megaphone. Every politician should be taking after AOC, and they should all have a social media person. They should be doing live streams, virtual town halls, real town halls, not relying on big media to cover them, because in the end, you need your megaphone as loud as possible to reach your constituents. So it's wild that we have comedians kind of being some of the only truth tellers out there right now. And it might be the fact that they don't want to be pushed around, just like me. This does not help me out financially to sort of alienate a portion of my audience to be covering politics, but how would I ever sleep at night or look at myself in the mirror and be okay with the fact that these things are happening and we have convinced our country to hate each other when in fact the enemies are the billionaire class, the billionaires that can pay lobbyists off, the billionaires that can pay $250 million for presidential elections and be an unelected official in the White House, making cuts to Medicare and Social Security and taking away aid that goes to good causes. These are the issues that people have. And let me tell you something. I have never been more proud of my community and myself, frankly, to be at the front line of this story and covering it. I mean, we have cases where Trump is trying to deport somebody with a green card, and we have very right-wing personalities like Candace Owens saying, hey, look, I don't think we should be doing this. We should not be stifling First Amendment rights. Like, this is a big, big deal. So I ask my friends in the Republican Party, you're for a lot of, maintaining of your rights. You always say this about your Second Amendment rights, right? You got to pry my gun away from my cold, dead hand. That's the big line, right? Well, what about your First Amendment rights? What about watching someone with a green card get deported? Now, he's waiting in a detention center. This is the protester from Columbia University. His wife is 8 months pregnant. He's got a green card. He is allowed to be here. He cannot be deported for those reasons unless they say, well, it's because he's a terrorist. Well, where's the evidence then? Where's the evidence? And the judge is siding with my opinion right now, which is that there is none, and we need to uphold these rights. So I'm on Team Bill Burr. I'll take that stock all day long. These are the people that you need to elevate that are telling you the truth about what's going on. And quite frankly, myself as well. You don't have to like all of my opinions, but if it's true that all of these rights are being stripped away as we're watching happen, isn't that a bigger deal than whether or not you're offended because maybe you fall on a different political side than I do? Let's not look left versus right. Let's look up versus down. Well, we ran out of time. I was going to talk about the Women Tell All. I'm going to save that for tomorrow morning. Make sure you're subscribed. We'll have a little bit more time. Sorry, I went on a rant. I can't control myself. My virtue is not brevity. That's all right. Okay, have a good one, folks. We might have big news tomorrow as we approach the decision from Blake Lively, from the judge about this motion to do a protective order. We've been waiting at the edge of our seats. My alerts are turned on. Stick around for that. Make sure to hit the subscribe button, and we'll have all those stories for you coming in the morning. I'm Dave Neal, and this is The Rush.